All right, so today we're diving into Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
It's a classic for a reason, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm excited to unpack some of the wisdom that it holds.
I think what's so fascinating about Covey is that he goes beyond just offering tips and tricks.
Yeah.
He really delves into these fundamental principles of
Mm.
human effectiveness.
Yeah.
He talks about natural laws that govern our interactions with the world.
It's like he's giving us a map or like a guide
Yeah.
for how to navigate life and achieve lasting happiness and success.
Exactly. And he starts by asking us to examine our paradigms.
Okay.
You know, those mental models that we use to interpret reality.
Yeah, and those are so deeply ingrained
Right.
that we don't even realize they're there
Right.
a lot of the time.
But they're shaping our thoughts and actions all the time.
He uses that visual of the old woman, young woman,
Yes.
like that optical illusion.
Classic example, right?
Yeah.
Of how two people can look at the same thing
Yeah.
and see something completely different.
Based on their paradigms.
Yeah, it's such a powerful visual for that.
Yeah.
And Covey says that real change, lasting change, requires a paradigm shift.
Yeah.
So it's not just tweaking behavior, it's really about examining those core beliefs.
Right. It's about that fundamental change in how we see the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about kind of, tweaking our behavior. It's about really examining those core beliefs that drive our actions.
He contrasts the character ethic with the personality ethic. And I think this is where you start to see, the personality ethic is all about, quick fixes.
Right.
And kind of these techniques
Yeah.
for how to get ahead.
Yeah, it's about appearances, right?
Yeah.
It's about how to appear effective.
Yeah.
Rather than actually being effective.
And then the character ethic is rooted in those timeless principles.
Right.
Integrity, fairness, courage.
And he argues that, true effectiveness stems from aligning ourselves with these principles.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think it's possible to build true effectiveness without having that foundation?
That's such a great question.
And
I think Covey would say no.
Yeah.
He argues that true effectiveness stems from aligning ourselves with these principles.
Mm-hmm.
It's about becoming principle-centered.
Okay.
It's about developing a strong inner core that guides our decisions and actions, regardless of the circumstances we find ourselves in.
I love that.
Yeah.
So instead of cramming for life's tests,
Right.
we're actually mastering the subject.
Yeah, you're developing that internal character.
Yeah, that's such a good analogy.
Right.
And that leads us to the PPC balance.
Okay.
So it's the idea that we need to focus not only on the things that produce the results,
Right.
but on the capability to produce those results.
Yes, it's that production capability.
Yeah.
So the golden eggs and the goose that lays them.
Yeah, take care of the goose.
Right.
That's laying the golden eggs.
Exactly.
And not just the golden eggs themselves.
I think of that manager he talks about, right?
Oh, yeah.
The one who inherits a broken machine from his predecessor, who was only focused on getting as much production out of that machine as possible.
Yeah.
And didn't take care of it, didn't do the maintenance, even invest in its production capability.
Yeah, and I think this is something that we see so often.
Yeah.
In all areas of life.
Absolutely.
We can think about our health.
Yeah.
Like we can try to get the results of looking good or feeling good.
Right.
But if we're not actually investing
Human
in
habits,
the
lifestyle that supports that it's going to backfire.
We can think about it in our relationships.
Yeah.
If we're just trying to get what we want from people,
Right.
but we're not actually investing in the relationship, then eventually that relationship's going to break down.
Exactly. And I think that leads nicely into Covey's emphasis on moving from dependence to independence and ultimately interdependence. So he argues that dependence keeps us stuck.
Okay.
We're relying on others to take care of us, to make decisions for us.
Yeah.
And then we move into independence where we say, hey, I can do this myself.
Yeah.
I can make my own choices. I can take care of myself.
Yeah.
But he says that's not the end goal.
Oh, yeah.
The end goal is interdependence.
So that's where we're really understanding that we can accomplish so much more together.
Exactly. It's recognizing that we need each other.
Okay.
And that we can achieve far greater things when we cooperate and collaborate.
Right. So now we're getting to the part
Yeah.
where things get a little deep.
A little deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beginning with the end in mind.
Yes.
This one really makes you think.
It does.
He's asking us to visualize our own funeral.
Yeah.
and think about what we want people to say about us.
Right.
It's a powerful exercise.
It is a powerful way to clarify our values and create a vision of our desired end state. You know, what do we want to be remembered for?
Yeah, and then it's about aligning our actions with that vision.
It's about living intentionally right.
Yeah.
Choosing our actions based on the legacy we want to leave behind.
And like he says, all things are created twice.
Yeah.
First in the mind.
Right.
And then in the physical world.
You wouldn't build a house without a blueprint.
Exactly. You wouldn't just start like laying bricks.
Exactly.
Without knowing what you're building.
A plan.
Yeah. And our lives should be no different.
Right.
So that's where the idea of a personal mission statement comes in.
Right. It's like a constitution, a guiding document for your life.
Okay.
So he suggests that we, think about all the different roles we play.
Yeah.
Parent, spouse, employee, friend.
Yeah.
And then identify those long-term goals we want to achieve in each role.
So it's about really taking the time to define what matters most to us.
And then using that to guide our decisions.
Yeah. And this can be applied, not just to individuals, but also to families, organizations.
He tells the story of this hotel chain.
Oh, yeah.
Where every employee, from the housekeeping staff to the executives, helped to create their mission statement.
Yeah.
And it had this profound impact on their culture and their customer service.
Everyone felt ownership over that vision.
Exactly.
All right, so we've got that vision.
Yes.
Now how do we make it happen?
How do we put it into action?
Yeah, that's habit 3.
Right.
Put first things first.
It's all about execution.
Yeah.
Taking that vision we've created and making it a reality.
In our day-to-day lives.
Yes.
So this is where he introduces the time management matrix.
Yes. One of his most famous tools.
Yes. And this matrix, I find it so helpful for actually prioritizing my time and my energy.
It helps us to categorize tasks based on their urgency and importance.
So I'm curious about this idea of focusing on quadrant 2, the quadrant of importance, but not urgency.
Right.
So often we let those things slide.
They're not screaming at us, right? They're not those urgent fires that we have to put out.
But they're the things that ultimately are going to make the biggest difference.
They move us toward our goals.
In the long run.
Yes.
But we often...
They get neglected.
Yeah, we put them off.
Yeah, because they don't have that immediate consequence.
Yeah, so how do we actually break free?
That's the challenge, right?
From the tyranny of the urgent.
Yeah, how do we escape?
And create space for quadrant 2.
So Covey suggests a couple of things.
Okay.
One is to schedule time for those quadrant 2 activities each week.
Like actually put it in the calendar.
Treat them as appointments that we wouldn't miss.
Okay.
The other thing he talks about is having that bigger yes.
Okay.
Burning inside.
So that's that clear understanding of your values, your goal,
your mission.
So that it's easier to say no.
Exactly. To the things that don't align.
That don't really matter. Right.
Yeah, okay.
And that aren't moving you towards that bigger yes.
So it's about being proactive and not just reactive.
Instead of just responding to whatever comes up, we're consciously choosing our action.
Based on our values.
Yes.
Okay. And that brings us to effective delegation. Stewardship delegation.
Covey really emphasizes focusing on the results.
Yeah.
Rather than micromanaging the methods.
Okay.
So it's about giving people the freedom to choose how they accomplish the desired outcome.
Okay.
While still maintaining accountability.
He tells that great story about delegating yard work to his son.
Yes.
And it really highlights the importance of
trust, setting clear expectations, and then letting go.
Yeah, and allowing people to learn and grow from their mistakes.
Yeah.
And so he argues that this kind of delegation not only gets more done in less time, but it also fosters a sense of ownership. Yes.
And responsibility in others.
It's a win-win for everyone involved. One of the things that really resonated with me when reading these excerpts was Covey's emphasis on the importance of principles.
Yes, those natural laws.
Yeah, he calls them natural laws like gravity that govern human effectiveness.
And he argues that true happiness and success come from aligning our lives with these principles.
It's as if there's like this blueprint for a fulfilling life.
Yeah, and it's been kind of woven into the fabric of successful societies throughout history.
And he contrasts this, principle-centered approach with the personality ethic, which often focuses on quick fixes and techniques without really addressing
the root causes.
Yeah, the root causes of our challenges.
It's like putting a Band-Aid on a broken bone.
You're just covering up the problem temporarily.
It's not actually healing.
Yeah, he compares it to trying to change the fruit on a tree.
Okay.
Without nourishing the roots. Yeah. If we want to see real lasting change in our lives, we need to start at the foundation.
And those roots, as Covey says, are our principles.
Our character.
Our values,
Exactly.
Now, you talk about principles.
Yes.
And aligning our lives with principles. Mm-hmm. But isn't it also important to be adaptable?
That's a great point.
In today's rapidly changing world.
Yeah, and I think Covey would agree.
Okay.
Being principle-centered doesn't mean being rigid or inflexible.
Right.
It's about having that core set of values that guides your decisions while still being able to adapt to changing circumstances.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So how does proactivity fit into this?
So Covey defines proactivity as the ability to choose our response.
Okay.
To any situation.
Okay.
Regardless of what's happening around us.
Regardless of our circumstances.
Right. And he uses that incredible example of Viktor Frankl.
Oh, yeah.
Who, found meaning and freedom even in a concentration camp.
Think about that.
It's mind-blowing, right?
Yeah.
Even in a concentration camp, he found a sliver of freedom. Yeah. The freedom to choose his response, to choose his attitude. Yeah. And it's a powerful reminder that even in the face of unimaginable suffering, our proactivity, our ability to choose can make all the difference.
It's a powerful reminder that we always have a choice.
Always.
Yeah.
And Covey contrasts this with reactivity.
Okay.
Where we allow external circumstances or other people to dictate our emotions and actions.
I know so many people like that.
Right. And he points out that reactive people often use language.
Oh, interesting.
That reflects a sense of victimhood.
Okay.
They'll say things like, I can't, I have to. It's not my fault.
It's like they've given away their power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that language reinforces this belief.
That they're powerless.
That they're powerless to change their situation.
Wow.
So Covey encourages us to shift our language to reflect a sense of agency and responsibility.
So instead of saying, I can't,
right,
we say, I choose not to.
Exactly. Okay. It's a subtle shift, but it can have a profound impact on our mindset.
Yeah.
It helps us to reclaim our power and focus on what we can control.
That leads us to the circle of concern.
Yes.
And the circle of influence.
The circle of concern includes all the things we worry about.
Okay.
But the circle of influence includes the things we can actually do something about.
And so often,
right,
our circle of concern is way bigger than our circle of influence.
And Covey encourages us to shift our focus from worrying about things we can't control to focusing on the things that we can actually influence.
Okay.
And he argues that when we do that, our circle of influence naturally expands.
It's like exercising a muscle.
Exactly.
Yeah, the more we use it,
the stronger it becomes.
The stronger it becomes, yeah.
And as our circle of influence grows, so does our effectiveness.
In all areas of our lives.
In all areas of our lives.
Now, another thing that really struck me was this idea that we are responsible for our own happiness.
Yes.
I used to think that happiness was something that just happened to you.
Right? It's like luck.
Yeah.
Or good fortune.
But Covey suggests that it's something that we actively create.
He uses the analogy of a thermostat and a thermometer.
Okay.
A thermometer just reflects the temperature.
Okay.
But a thermostat can actually change it.
So if we want to be happier,
yes,
we need to become thermostats.
We need to proactively set the temperature for our emotional well-being.
And a big part of that
is
making choices that align with our values.
Exactly.
Yeah. And he also talks about...
He also highlights the importance of having a clear purpose in life.
Yes.
He talks about that a lot.
He suggests that each of us has a unique contribution to make.
Yeah.
Something that we're meant to do.
Something we're meant to do, yeah.
And we should capture that purpose in a personal mission statement. He describes the mission statement as like a constitution.
Yeah, a guiding document for our lives.
Okay, so it really outlines...
It outlines our values, our aspirations, our long-term goals.
It becomes our compass.
Yes.
That keeps us on track.
Even when faced with difficulties.
And I have a question about this.
Yeah.
This whole visualizing my own funeral.
Right.
To clarify my values.
Yeah.
I get the point of the exercise.
It's a little morbid.
Yeah, it's a little morbid.
It's not for everyone.
Is there another way to think about that?
Yeah, I think the essence of the exercise is to kind of step outside of your day-to-day life.
Okay.
And ask yourself, What do I want my life to stand for?
Okay.
What impact do I want to have on the world?
Yeah.
What legacy do I want to leave behind?
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
So how do we actually go about writing a mission statement?
So Covey suggests considering the various roles we play in life.
Okay.
Parent, spouse, friend, employee, and so on. And then for each role, identify those long-term goals that we want to achieve.
So it's about painting a picture.
Yes.
Of our ideal future selves.
Our ideal future.
And then using that to guide our present actions.
Exactly.
It's not a one-time event.
No, it's an ongoing process.
Okay.
Of reflecting on our values and goals.
Yeah.
And refining our mission statement as we grow and evolve.
So we have this clear purpose.
Yes.
We've defined our mission.
Mm-hmm.
How do we make sure that we're dedicating our time and energy to what truly matters?
That's where Covey's time management matrix comes in.
Okay.
Which helps us to prioritize our tasks based on their urgency and importance.
Yeah, he really encourages us to focus on that quadrant. 2, importance but not urgency.
The activities that contribute to our long-term goals and well-being.
Things like planning, personal development.
Building relationships. They're not urgent, so they're often neglected.
But they're essential for a fulfilling life. But how do we break free from that?
That's the question.
Whirlwind of urgent tasks.
How do we escape the tyranny of the urgent?
Yeah, and create space.
Yes.
For those quadrant 2 activities.
So Covey suggests a couple of things.
Okay.
One is scheduling time for those activities each week.
Okay.
Treat them as important appointments that you wouldn't miss.
Okay.
And the other thing is having that bigger yes burning inside.
Yes.
That clear understanding of your values and goals.
That helps you to say no.
Exactly.
To the things that don't matter.
The things that don't align with your mission.
So it's about shifting from being reactive to being proactive.
Yes. Instead of just responding to whatever comes up, we're consciously choosing our actions.
Based on our values.
Based on our values.
Okay. And that brings us to effective delegation.
Yes.
Stewardship delegation.
Covey stresses focusing on the results.
Yeah.
Rather than micromanaging the methods.
Okay.
So it's about giving people the freedom to choose how they achieve the outcome. Okay.
While still holding them accountable.
And this starts with trust.
It does.
100%.
It does. And he talks about this concept of the emotional bank account.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Where we make deposits through acts of kindness.
Yeah.
Courtesy, honesty, keeping commitments.
Yeah.
And we avoid withdrawals.
Right.
By, disrespecting others, breaking promises, or eroding trust.
So it's about building that trust.
It is.
Yeah.
Building that emotional bank account
it's a foundation.
Is essential for creating strong, trusting relationships, which then makes effective delegation possible.
So it seems like all of this is really laying the groundwork.
Absolutely.
For effective collaboration and teamwork.
It is. And that leads us to his concept of win-win.
Okay.
Where he challenges us to move from a mindset of competition to a mindset of cooperation.
It's about seeking those mutually beneficial solutions in all of our interactions.
Seeing life as a cooperative arena.
Okay.
Not a competitive one.
And he contrasts this with win-lose or lose-win scenarios, which are based on scarcity.
Right, like this idea that there's not enough to go around.
There's only so much pie.
Yeah.
And if you get a bigger slice...
And I get a smaller slice.
I get a smaller slice.
Yeah.
So it's about moving to that abundance mindset.
Yeah, there's enough for everyone.
There's enough for everyone.
Yeah.
It's about approaching life with a spirit of generosity.
Yeah.
And a willingness to collaborate.
So we've built that foundation of trust.
Yeah.
We're approaching our interactions with a spirit of cooperation.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're ready to talk about synergy.
Yes, Covey's 6th habit.
This is where the magic happens.
It's about recognizing that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
He talks about synergy as achieving a third alternative.
Yes.
A solution that's better than what anyone could have come up with on their own.
It's about valuing differences and creating an environment where people feel safe to share their unique perspectives.
Their ideas. And then from that, you get these innovative solutions.
Exactly. He gives that example of the classroom.
Oh, yeah.
Where he witnessed the power of synergy firsthand.
Yeah. What happened there?
So the students were initially hesitant to share their thoughts.
Okay.
But as they started to trust each other in the process, they created something truly remarkable.
So it's about that shift from competition to collaboration.
Yes.
that unlocks creative potential.
And Covey stresses that synergy isn't about compromise.
Okay.
It's about creating something new and better together.
So it's not about watering down ideas to find common ground.
Right.
It's about leaning into the tension.
Yes, embracing the tension.
Of different perspectives and seeing where it leads us.
It's about that creative friction.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and he also points out that synergy requires a high level of trust.
Okay.
And open communication.
Which is why those earlier habits are so important.
Exactly. It all builds.
Yeah, it's all interconnected.
It's a framework.
Yeah, it's a system.
For personal and interpersonal effectiveness.
And Covey even suggests that we can apply the principles of synergy.
Yes.
To our own internal lives.
To ourselves.
So it's not just about synergy between people.
Right.
But about achieving inner synergy.
Integrating the different parts of ourselves.
How do we do that?
Well, he talks about integrating our logic and intuition.
Okay.
Our thinking and feeling.
To become more whole.
Yes, to become more whole and effective.
Okay. And finally, we arrive at habit 7.
Sharpen the saw.
The habit of self-renewal.
Yes. Taking care of ourselves.
That's
so
it.
we can show up fully.
In all areas of our lives.
In all areas of our lives.
He argues that we need to nurture ourselves physically,
yes,
spiritually, and socially.
It's about recognizing that we can't pour from an empty cup.
Oh, I love that.
We need to replenish our own reserves in order to give our best to others.
So it's not selfish.
Not at all.
To prioritize self-care.
It's essential for effectiveness. Covey emphasizes things like exercise.
Yeah.
Healthy eating.
Yeah.
Sleep for physical renewal.
Okay, so those are the basics.
Those are the basics.
But he also talks about spiritual renewal.
Yes, and he acknowledges that spirituality can take many forms.
Okay.
You know, it could be prayer, meditation.
Spending time in nature.
Spending time in nature.
Yeah.
Anything that nourishes your soul.
Okay.
He also stresses the importance of mental renewal.
Which could involve reading.
Reading things.
Engaging in creative activities.
Okay.
And let's not forget about social and emotional renewal.
Yes.
Nurturing our relationships with others.
So it seems like this habit is the foundation for all the other habits.
I think so.
If we're not taking care of ourselves, it's going to be so much harder to be proactive.
Yes.
To focus on our goals to build strong relationships.
Absolutely.
And Covey suggests that we dedicate at least an hour each day to renewing ourselves in all 4 dimensions. He calls it the daily private victory.
Okay.
And he believes it's the key to achieving the daily public victory.
Which is?
Those successes we experience in our interactions with the world.
So it's not about becoming superhuman.
Right.
It's about taking small, consistent steps.
Yes.
To improve ourselves.
Each day.
Each day.
He reminds us that the 7 habits aren't a one-time fix. It's a lifelong journey of continuous growth.
He compares it to the law of the harvest.
Yes.
You reap what you sow.
You reap what you sow.
That's a powerful image.
It is.
To leave us with.
And as we wrap up our deep dive into Covey's work, what area of your life,
physical, spiritual, mental, or social,
feels most in need of renewal?
And what small step can you take today
to start sharpening the saw
in that area?
Yeah.